Hello everyone, welcome back to a new replay cast. Today we're going to be having a look at a game between, in the bottom left, spawning as the red Protoss player is going to be Hurricane, and in the top right it's going to be the Queen of Zerg, Scarlett, who's playing for BSG SC2. I have no clue what it means, but that's six what do you call it? 6 letters or 5 letters and a number, so it's a good mouthful. Let's see what Hurricane is going to be doing here as his scout hits the other side of the map. Scarlett just opening up with a standard hatch first, and Hurricane opting to not go for a hatch block, which is perhaps a little bit odd these days, especially on a map like Everdream. On all the small maps these days we see a lot of hatch blocking going on, but not today, at least not by Hurricane. As Hurricane will be moving towards that third base, decides to not go for any kind of mineral harassment as well. This is laziness, this has no use. And it's not the good kind of laziness. We have Hurricane also getting a cybercore, very exposed. Look at that, there's going to be a gateway over here, but there's going to be a lot of surface area for Zerglings on this cybernetics core, which is interesting to see. Meanwhile, Scarlett's pool will finish up, and we're going to see what her plans are. Most likely just going to be taking a third base at 30 supply. Extra queens, and then some scouting information should be gathered here. First Overlord goes straight into the main base. Did not see the quick start on that warp gate. Now we do have a Twilight Council first on the way. Could be for a couple of things. Most likely going to be for Glaive or a Dark Shrine. Technically could be for Blink. I have seen it on this map, as this map is a really nice area of engagement right over here, where you can just absolutely beautifully engage into that Zerg third base. On the other hand, we have Scarlett figuring out that it is a Twilight Council, so shouldn't be too worried. Lots of Chrono is being used on these Nexi as well. Interesting to see how Hurricane will decide to play this. Robo will go down shortly. I said this Robo will go down shortly. Oh, in the natural. In the wall. Huh. Into Glaives. Alright, this is a new variation. We see no workers being pulled out of gas, so could perhaps be a 3-gate. Usually with 4-gate Glaive builds you see 2 workers being pulled out of gas the moment the robotics facility starts. This is in order to ensure that you can get all the gateways down. Oh, one adept got 2 drone kills. I completely missed it. I'm sorry for that. It's not the biggest of deal. It sucks that you lose an adept. Another adept is being rebuilt already. We're going into 2 extra gateways and a pylon. Third gateway is not being added yet, or well, the 4th gateway, I guess. And this might go into a Dark Shrine as well in that case. I believe that would be the most sensible play here. As otherwise I don't understand why he would only be playing 3 gates. We have 2 adepts, so 4 units pre-warp gate. We have extra gases on the way. We see Scarlett is adding a couple of drones. Somehow figuring out that this isn't quite as committed as the other Glaive builds. And we have a Pro moving towards that third base. We don't have a Dark Shrine behind this. How many adepts are we going to be seeing? So usually the warp in timing of this Glaive adept build is 425. But at this point, I mean, this is just really late, no? That is what it feels like. 431 isn't even across the map yet. Usually you're in your opponent's third base at 430 with 8 adepts. Now we have 3 adepts. If Scarlett realizes that, she can just tell Hurricane to piss off. She cancels the spine. There's no spores yet, which surprises me, as TT would have been a very viable option here. There was a lot of gas for Hurricane. Definitely could have gotten a Dark Shrine. Lair will finish, but I think Overseer would have been a bit too slow. Immortal is being built right now as the Adepts start shading in. Scarlett completely out of position, by the way. These Adepts will be able to do a little bit of damage at least. See 3 Adepts over here just targeting drones, ignoring the roach. 3 Adepts in the main and 3 Adepts in the natural as well. 10 drones have gone down so far. This adept is not doing his job anymore. We'll get 1 or 2 more workers. 4 adepts continue actually getting more and more drone kills, all targeting the same drone, so not the most efficient way. 2 adepts end up shading into the natural. This is absolutely terrible here for Scarlett, who has lost 22 workers, or 24 workers in total, with 22 workers in this little attack. Meanwhile, Hurricane doesn't have a third base yet though, so I feel like this is one of the least efficient builds that I've seen in a while, where I think a lot of it could have been done faster. I mean, he's getting a good immortal count, so perhaps some kind of immortal push follow-up is in the works here. We have Adepts being dropped, Queen's trying to micro here. One Adept chasing to the natural will get one, perhaps two, no, just one more drone. Still, so this looks bad, right? I mean, we see, if we look at the workers lost, 25 workers lost, it looks bad, but usually if the units lost is this close, it isn't actually that bad for the Zerg player, because they already have a lot of units out. They only lost drones, not units, and then they can just rebuild the drones. And you see the supply actually kind of evens out. Evo Chamber is on the way already. There's a decent roach count. Creep spread is very, very good for the situation. I mean, this was a crap situation, and Scarlett's been doing a good job continuing to spread creep. As Blink is being researched. How many immortals do we have? Like, he started so early with immortals, and then he just stopped building them, it feels like. There's 3 immortals, which is, I mean, a decent count. We have an observer on the way. Adepts trying to do a little bit more damage. We'll end up getting, well, actually a lot more workers. This is painful. This really is quite painful. 7 more workers, jeez. 32 workers have gone down in this game so far. Man. That is painful, and these last 7 were slightly too much, I feel like. I think everything before that was okay and at least playable, but now this is the point where Scarlett wants to be building units, and she did get up like to 64 workers, but ideally she'd be at like 72, and the fort base a bit closer to finishing already, of course, as well. Hurricane doesn't have that many workers. He does have an observer. Is it with this army? No, not yet. It's on the way though. Good. Biles will be able to barely miss this Prism. So Prism stays alive. Decent set of initial force fields. Bad set of secondary force fields. I mean, this doesn't do very much. I doubt there is enough Zerg though for the amount of Protoss that is here. GG gets called, and Hurricane just kind of walks over Scarlett. So probably I slightly underestimated the actual damage that was done, or perhaps Scarlett was a little bit too greedy with the worker count, but yeah, it's a good win there for Hurricane, who takes game number 1 in this best of 3. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, game number 2 between Scarlett and Hurricane on Simulacrum. After that first game where Hurricane just did a little bit too much damage, 32 workers might be too much. Here we have game number 2 with a low ground pylon starting once again. I really do believe that if Scarlett doesn't end up losing those final 7 drones, so she doesn't need to rebuild those, and she gets like 6-7 extra roaches, she's gonna be in a fine position. Perhaps she'll lose a bunch of creep, she might lose a couple of roaches, but she has a fort base on the way, she has an Evo chamber on the way. Hurricane still is only on 4 gas, no 6 gas, so any kind of follow-up attack is going to be pretty late. His army consists of Stalker, Sentry, Immortal, which isn't an army that scales extremely well into longer games. But I think those final 7 drones might have been too much. Perhaps he would have been able to kill her before as well, but it's always very hard to say in those games because they are so extremely tight. You lose a couple of extra drones and you just die. Well, usually Zerg is kind of good at staying alive, even if they get some drone losses against Oracle builds, for example. But with that Glaive build, the game really does become quite tight, as Hurricane showed us in that last game. But here we are in game number 2, of course, on Simulacrum, with a Nexus being built on the natural location for Hurricane. I wonder what he's going to be doing this time. Once again, no natural... This is such an odd play. It is just to scout if there is a fast 3 hatch. But the only type of 3 hatch that could be scouted by doing this is the 20 hatch, which is relatively popular in Korea, I'll give him that, but scouting it doesn't actually change your build order at all, as there is nothing really to abuse there. Perhaps it changed the first unit you want to build. So instead of an Adept you can get a Stalker, but you can also just check it by checking both the queens, like both the hatcheries at this point before your core finishes. And if you only see a single queen, it means there's a 3rd hatch. Or you could count the drones if you're really trying hard. I feel like this information could have been gotten in different ways, and I don't think the information is that important anyway. So interesting why Hurricane does that. I sometimes wish I had a more direct line with some of the Korean Protoss players, so I could ask these kind of questions, why they do certain scouting moves. As to me, this makes very little sense, but of course Hurricane is definitely one of the top players in Korea. He's been doing well in the GSL time after time, barely not making it to the round of 16 in the GSL this time around, but yeah, he's one of those very, very solid players who should not be underestimated. And he probably has a pretty decent grasp of the game, so I don't want to question him too much there. Glaives once again coming out of no. You saw that? He cancelled. Huh. Robo being built there, so it's gonna be DT, I guess. Oh, he accidentally started it before Robo. He just made a build order mistake. And it's still gonna be DT because he isn't restarting it, so it has to be a Dark Shrine. Maybe he's busy microing this Adept for now. Okay, Dark Shrine is going to be built. It's a little bit delayed by about 10 seconds, I believe. Adept does end up falling as well. What did he get? He got 2 unit kills, so 2 links most likely. Yeah, 2 links for a single Adept. That's a good trade for Scarlett here, who finished up speed very quickly. And man, spreading creep like a maniac. Look at this. A little bit of a supply block though, so nice creep spread, but can't build the 4th queen as she did make a little bit of a mistake there. It's actually pretty painful getting supply block at 44 out of 44. 2 more overlords on the way. Fast Roach Warren as well as a layer. So Scarlett knows exactly what she's up against, or she has a good feel of what she's up against. We have of course a probe out here, building pylons on the edge, making sure no link drops can happen. And just spotting your own base is always good, of course, in case of Nidus. But these, usually if you're spotting for Nidus, you'd build it a bit around here so you get the maximum efficiency with the pylon. These pylons are really intended to spot drops coming, whether that be quick link drops once layer finishes, or later on banelink drops. Very good positioning, and very consistently good by Hurricane as well. I think it's one of those things that people overlook sometimes, just having very solid habits. So you see once again Hurricane. Now what he's doing here is he's tricking Scarlett into believing it's the same build as last game by showing these 4 Adepts, and then he's gonna warp in a couple of DTs. Now I don't understand why he's getting an Immortal now. It's his builds and his playstyle are really confusing to me. We see 3 DTs on the way. He's not gonna be splitting them up actually. Where's the Overseer being morphed? Overseer being morphed in the natural. 1 DT being split up here. 2 DTs will end up going to the main base. Try to fight these queens, but Overseer is out already, and this shouldn't do too much. This is like a really poor start here. 12 drones immediately on the way. Scarlett realizes what's happening. Man, did he just miss one of his slashes? What a surround that. Oh, she should have kept it. That was a surround. This is a really good defense, honestly. Only losing, as I say that, we see 5 more workers falling to these Adepts, but 3rd base is relatively late for Hurricane, and yeah, that's the story of the Hurricane. The man the authorities came to blame for something he has never done. Well, he did kill 9 drones. That's a pretty big crime. As we have the Prism, not quite sure what to do. Like, this is one of these weird situations where what do you really do with the Prism, right? Do you morph DTs and go back in with the Archon drop while you only have 16 real HP? I mean, you're gonna get the shields back, but 2-3 queens will be able to push this away. And it's a little bit dangerous. Like, this is not an easy map to drop on. There's no dead spaces in between bases. Easy to spot. Massive main base as well, where there's creep everywhere. It's funny how good Scarlett's creep threat was in the first 3 minutes, and she completely left it the same way ever since then. So in the past 3 minutes, we've perhaps seen a single tumor. Kind of weird to think about. DT gets cleaned up. Good job there by Scarlett. Single Archon drop. I think this is... yeah, this doesn't look very good. Spire coming down before Roach Speed. Good play here by Scarlett. I like this. I like this decision a lot. We do see Blink coming out of Hurricane here. Who's taking the forward 3rd base as well. Still flying around with a single Archon in a Prism that is about to fall apart the moment the Queen looks at it, a little bit too angry. Blink +1. So I guess we're going to be seeing a similar follow-up to last game. I mean, there's 3 Immortals, which is nice. But is 9 workers enough? There is a Spire, which is going to suck up some fish. There's no fort base yet. This fort base is really late, as there's a lot of minerals in the bank. Scarlett really playing a little bit sloppy here. A bit slow on things. Creep spread starting up again, but I mean the push is happening now. This is looking really bad for Scarlett. Really bad for Scarlett. I'm not sure how this happened, but I mean road speed is not done, which makes sense because she went Spire before road speed, but these Mutas are going to need to save the game, absolutely. There is 3 Mutas, there's no defenses whatsoever, Blink isn't done yet. It is being chrono boosted, but 3 Mutas. I've once seen Serral kill, I believe, 37 workers with 3 Mutas. On a game on... I want to say it was called Core Hall, the map. No, not Core Hall, some other map. It was a very small map. Against, I believe, Hellraiser or something like that. Very wild game. So far we have 4 probes going down already against the 3 Muta squad. So not quite Serral level yet, but you know, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. 2 Mutas being added on, +1 starting, as well as an infestation pit. So, infestation pit and +1 range. This could either be the weirdest swarm host or some very weird tech into fast hide from Mutas. Usually, I say it's weird because usually you see this with melee upgrades and banelings. But here, roaches and ravagers seem to be getting the priority when it comes to upgrades. Creep spread being completely denied now by Hurricane, who honestly is having quite a blast, isn't he? Moving across the map, sharking around a bit. Oh, the Muta squad returns. The sequel of the first 4. Oh! 1 Muta does end up falling. 8 workers against 1 Muta. That's a deal that Scarlett would take any day. Imagine you could just trade out your Mutas like that, and now you just press the backspace on these Mutas, and all of a sudden the Protoss also loses like what, 32 workers at once. Crap! I guess I need to all in. One hell of a game StarCraft would be in that case. Very confusing for viewers, but very exciting as well. We have 5 probes going down. Probably just 1 more probe falling and then added to the Muta kills. Now we have charge. We have no storm yet, I believe. No, we have more DTs being warped in. So he gets a Templar Archives, then keeps building Archons with Dark Templar. This guy truly is a mystery to me. He has so many moves where I would just like to be inside of his brain, you know, seeing the process there, because I have absolutely no clue what's happening. But, I mean, he's in a good spot, don't get me wrong. And he's doing a lot of good moves. I just don't quite understand certain decisions he's making. This was not great being caught out here. Now these links don't have any upgrades, so... I mean, they will all die, and not that many Stalkers actually went down. And Scarlett found an empty base. Hello? Can we kill the probes? Yeah, Painting's a little slow with the response there. We'll still be able to get majority of the probes. Yeah, 13 probes. I mean, that's fantastic. 47 workers right now left. We have a greater Spire on the way as well, so together with Adrenal Glands, this is just going to be a battle of can she hold, and I think she barely might be able to. I mean, there's a lot of biles here. There's a couple of Corruptors on the way already. Greater Spire is still a long way, so I don't think the Broodlords are going to be playing much of a role in this game. It's just going to depend all on these Banelings, on these Roaches, on these biles, and the biles so far are good. There is +1, of course. +1 melee is about to finish up as well. Banelings are rolling forward, lots of Stalkers being a little bit too clumped up. Will get taken out, and Ravagers move in. We'll be able to clean up this army by Hurricane, and now the Greater Spire is nice as a way to tell Hurricane to go back to the lobby. It's over, my friend. If he doesn't feel like he needs to go back to the waiting screen now already, because he does not have much of a chance anymore. He has 47 workers, he has no upgrades on the way. No extra tech being added. GG gets called as the Queen of Blades manages to snatch game number 2 out of Hurricane's hands, and we'll be heading into game number 3 of this best of 3. Alright, we're here 1-1 in this best of 3 between Scarlett and Hurricane. Scarlett managing to take away that last game out of Hurricane's claws. I mean, I really do think the Hurricane was in a good spot. Just the complete lack of storm didn't really help there. And of course, being completely out of position when that attack on his third base happened also wasn't the greatest play. So Scarlett really managing to stick it to him, getting that W. So we see Hurricane once again. Actually, this time with a Pylon Scout. I wonder if this was a 13 Pylon now. This looks like a 14 Pylon. I really want to ask this guy some questions. So the reason why 14 Pylon on this map makes no sense is because you arrive so late that you're never going to be able to block a natural. So then you might as well play Gateway Scout, which is slightly more economically sound. I think you save about 50 minerals or so if you play Gateway Scout. And it achieves exactly the same, except you scout faster to see if there's a 12 pool. But you're still going to be in time scouting a 12 pool anyway. So I feel like Hurricane is one of these players that's absolutely brilliant, except I don't quite know why yet, which usually is kind of the point with brilliant people, right? For if I listen to Einstein, I think he's a bit of a clown as well, like, who don't understand the word he says. So that's the theory I'm going with, as long as I don't get to speak with him. So we have Cybercore on the way. Pretty standard stuff. Let's see if he's gonna stick to his guns. Once again, play Warp Gate. Fast Warp Gate. Or if he's gonna open Stargate this time. So usually when people open Fast Warp Gate, they do end up going into either Twilight or Robo. Or into Dark Shrine Tech, something like that. So it's a quick trick to impress your friends. If you see the Warp Gate first, you tell them, oh, this isn't gonna be a Stargate. Unless, of course, you get the one Protoss player who wants to trick the Zerg opponent by showing straight Warp Gate, then saving up 2 Oracles. But that's a little more rare. A lot of the time when you see that Warp Gate first being researched, you will see the Protoss player go into a Twilight Council. So you see the fast Warp Gate, and this is the point at which you tell your friend, look, this is going to be a Twilight Council, most likely. I just have a gut feeling. And you ask him, you know, you ask him for ults, he'll give you ults, and you tell him, okay, you accept, bam, Twilight goes down. You just scammed your friend out of $15. Congratulations. You're a terrible friend. Stalker as the second unit, most likely. And we'll see a robotics facility go down very soon as well. You see, he's kind of struggling for money as well. Poor Hurricane. Should have just gate scouted like I told him to. Or done it. Like if you do a 13 scout on this map, which means you build your pylon at 13, so you cut 1 worker, and then you send it out. If you're very quick, you can actually block the natural, and then it's kind of worth it, you know. You're also delaying the Zerg expand, you're denying him some money, so drones need to walk further to start mining, which sucks for them. Ooh. Fast Evo Chamber. This is for a quick +1. It's not going to be scouted by this Adept. Oh, look at this. That looks like a juicy kill if you ask me. That Hurricane leaves it for what it is. Instead we'll trample this little patch of grass. Oh, there's no animation for that. Makes me a little bit sad. Once again the Robo in the wall. Not really hiding that he's playing something. Something sneaky here. 3-gate, Glaive Adept once again. As we see a second Adept being finished right now, and Prism starting immediately. These links should be able to get cleared by these two Adepts, right? Seems like a very, very ambitious player by Scarlett to try and fight that Adept. Overlord will scout everything, sees 3 gates, sees the upgrade, researching, of course the increased speed on these bars. And I think it moves slightly inwards, these 3 pillars as well. Shows that indeed it is researching. Now it could be a fake research. You never know, of course, but in this case it isn't. Glaives is on the way. Once again the 3-gate, fast double gases or fast 4 gases. And let's see what timing we get a warp in this time around. We see 428, 3 extra Adepts. So we're going to go up to 6 Adept at 430. That's pretty decent, but the Prism is very far away still. Observers being built. We see a couple of queens coming out. Immortal will start soon, I guess. Do we have a supply block? No, we don't have a supply forge before Immortal this time. Okay. This will not work. Interesting shape here out of Hurricane. He will try to save, but won't be in time. It's just going to lose 4 Adepts for free here. And we still have 2 Adepts here at the Watchtower as well, which... I mean, if these guys do damage, then Scarlett probably is just sleeping. We'll let it finish. Scarlett has a couple of links, completely out of position though, but Yeah, I won't actually be able to get a single worker here. Scarlett completely overproducing links, 31. We'll be going for a cancel on the third, but 3 adepts made their way across the map. We'll be shading into the third base. Problem being, there's no drones here. Can't do damage if you don't build any drones. That's what Scarlett must have thought, as these adepts, they finish up very risky shades here coming out of Hurricane here. Doesn't have a third base yet. He's up 10 workers. Don't get me wrong, that's nice, but +1 has finished now, so these links are going to be able to do so much damage. Does Hurricane actually have enough to defend the third base against this amount of links? I doubt it, honestly. 7 more drones are on the way. I mean, even if this army is in proper position, like the prism is going to be so important here. Oh! He needs to warp in something. If he doesn't warp in something, he's in trouble. One link managed to get in. I think she could fight this. I think she could have fought this. I think she's underestimating the power of +1, or perhaps I'm underestimating the power of the adept, but I think a trade against sentries wouldn't have been too bad. He wouldn't have been able to pick up everything. I guess with this cliff, perhaps he can just kind of elevate her up there. So it is a scary engagement. Now definitely this is not a fight you want to be taking. Losing a lot of links for free there. A couple more links do go down. 2 workers have gone down, but that's not quite what you want for losing that many links. Of course, good work account here for Scarlett, who will be +1 range. I wonder why she's getting +1 range here rather than the +2 melee attack. Because +2 melee attack is such a big deal in ZVP, where once you get +2 melee, you can just one-shot probes with those banelings rolling in. So the range, I'm not entirely sure what it is for. Perhaps she is preparing for more of an all-in, and the range does research a little faster. And roaches are better against all-ins usually. She's also taking the high ground base here as a fort instead of the low ground with that rich Vespine geyser. This might actually trick Hurricane a little bit. He'll just walk in and be like, hey, wait a second, there's no fort here. What is this garbage? Hurricane cutting really hard at 49 workers, by the way. Ling run by will end up killing a bunch of workers. So Hurricane actually just needs to kill here. I don't believe he has much of an option here. He can't really go back. Shades are not finishing up. Decent pickup micro, but good biles on the force fields as well. Baneling's doing a lot of damage, of course. Force fields have run out at this point. 6 workers have gone down. Army count is relatively equal, but I much prefer the position that Scarlett is in currently. Better upgrades. Once a couple of banelings connect with these adepts, I think Scarlett will be able to pick up this win as well. As you see, a couple more banes finishing up. Sentries being hit. Prism ends up going down. And here we're seeing the final breaths of Hurricane on Eternal Empire as Scarlett takes the series 2-1. So a lot of glaive adepts, a couple of DTs, and lots of Ravagers and Roaches. Very well played by Scarlett, who managed to win the series 2-1. Now if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button, and I'll see you all next time in the next video. Bye bye.